With a mission to close the gender wage gap in Ontario, the Pay Equity Office works to make the world a more equitable place for women to work, live, and thrive. Over the next 3 months, the Pay Equity Office and What She Said will be sharing information that women across Canada can use to advance their career and level the paying field for everyone. I'm joined now by Commissioner Kadie Ward to discuss a woman's worth today. Welcome to the show, Kadie.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you back.
It is so great to be back and to have a lot more time to have conversation over the next few months to share with your audience and with you just what we know about women's worth.
Yeah, it's been a tumultuous couple of years, particularly for women in the labor force. And I think the more we can do to give this information out to women, the better off we will all be, men, women, and children. So let's start with the top then. So you say women and men have historically been clustered in certain occupations. Can you expand on that for me a little bit?
Yeah, when we talk about women's worth more broadly, a lot of the conversation centers around pay and pay equity and the type of work women do and how that work is valued. So, historically, men and women have been clustered in different jobs or certain occupations, however you want to say it. And these occupations are valued and compensated differently by society and by employers. This is historic. I don't think it's natural. It's based on misinformation, stereotypes, but it's a clustering that actually persists in Ontario and across Canada today. I can share some stats if you're interested on, what that clustering looks like.
Absolutely.
Sure. So it's probably not a surprise. A lot of women are dominant and clustered in areas such as healthcare, about nursing, 91% are female, healthcare overall, about 78%. In education, it's about 68%. And community services is also dominated by women at 80%. This is all statistics from Statistics Canada website. But, the challenge is right now that we're facing, because you also said it's been very hard the past few years, women are also clustered in accommodation and food services, which means they've been hardest hit by the pandemic. They're clustered in the sectors that had to overreach and overwork, and then also clustered in the sectors that experienced mass layoffs and resignations. So we're sitting at a point now to figure out, how do we stop this clustering of women in certain jobs? Where did it originate, and how do we move it beyond?
Yeah, I think of certain sectors like, for example, the trades, things like that, where, predominantly male dominated, but there's no reason a woman couldn't be in those fields as well. So are these the kinds of things you're trying to highlight for women as they look at different and new career paths, perhaps?
I'm glad you brought up skilled trades, because that is a really great example of the clustering of men and women. There's no natural reason why women don't have the skill sets to be able to do the type of work that, there's 120 plus different skilled trades. Certainly there's jobs there women can do. But, historically, when women started entering the labor market, it was more or less prescribed to them the types of jobs they could do. And it was primarily unmarried women entering the labor market. We're talking, the turn of the century. I'll just go back to, mass industrialization and urbanization, where unmarried women were welcomed into the workforce, but married women were not, because they believed that married women's work was at home, which is primarily unpaid labor. So the labor market to women was closed and prescribed. And so this really sets that direction where, if a woman wanted to be a machinist or was very good with hands, wanted to build or do fine carpentry, there was no room in those sectors for women. They were primarily kept out of that. And those jobs were given to men, because men were seen, rightly or wrongly, as breadwinners. And I think even, at the turn of the century, there was probably single moms. It's probably endemic back then as it is now, where, women were left to fend for the family. But part of the argument of not allowing women to enter those fields is that it wasn't safe for women. Women had other responsibilities like caretaking. So those are still the stereotypes and the barriers we're breaking down. And skilled trades is one of those sectors where the Canadian government, provincial governments are investing money to educate women on broader career opportunities. It's the beginning of a new year. We start to think about reinventing ourselves and challenging women to think outside of roles that tend to be socially or through culture or religion prescribed to women.
So given that, we've really just been through probably one of the hardest times ever in human history, particularly for women when we talk about the clustering and how has it affected those different markets. How are you looking forward, planning to help women through and navigate, what lies ahead?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Our office really focuses on educating women and employers on economic justice for women. So pay equity is, it's a legislated act here, but it's also just makes sense from a business point of view, and educating women on their rights to pay equity in the workplace. We launched a series, we've talked about it before, Level the Paying Field, that's levelthepayingfield.ca, where we interviewed and spoke with a lot of policymakers and educators on just what that means. I can share with you information, Candace, for you in your podcast notes, with links to resources where women can really learn about what are the resources out there that the government is investing in. The federal government, in their budget, they mentioned women no less than 665 times in their budget, which is like landmark. That's an incredible gain for women. Women are now on the upside, the silver lining of the past 2 years has been women are now on policymakers' minds. And in Ontario alone, there were two task force, the Workforce Recovery Task Force and the a task force focused on women and the economy, that really just wanted to understand how can we make labor and economy better for women. So there's resources I'll share with you so you can direct your audience to that. But that's really what we are focused on, is educating women, educating employers, small businesses on their responsibilities, and then for women on their rights to economic justice.
I think, you nailed something here in this interview, because one of the most frustrating parts of this journey for everybody has been the ability to find the resources we need to make decisions, because it's sort of everywhere. And
Yeah.
unless you know where to look, it's really difficult to find. So I am assuming that you have all of these listed on your websites, on the website, and that people can go to it at any time to find what they need.
We do. payequity.on.ca. You can visit our website. I'll send you this to include in the show notes, as I said. But I would encourage, because I know you're syndicated across the country, the women listening, visit the Ministry of Labor website in their respective province. Every province has some kind of Ministry of Labor or ministry that deals with labor issues. To visit those websites and to just hunt through to find resources for second careers are very popular, skills retraining. These are all good keywords you can use. We have a skilled trade shortage across the country, so there is tons of funding focused on getting women into skilled trades. A lot of those programs are delivered by intermediaries like the YWCA or other groups that are focused just on women in business. So, for your listeners to do a little bit of research on who are the major, organizations in your community that deliver services. Is it the YWCA? Is it United Way Women, if you have one in your community or in your province? To do a little bit of research, who's getting the funding, and follow the trail. And you can start, another great place to start is looking at your Ministry of Labor press releases, because they're always announcing, they're very proud to get media coverage of their funding and opportunities. So you can find a lot by just perusing media releases and figure out where money is going, what organizations have got it, and where you can dig in to learn more about the programs.
Okay. So, I realize obviously that, we have laws in place, but that doesn't mean that everybody's complying. So I just want to ask you, if women have a complaint, if they have a legitimate concern about their employer, do they come to you for assistance with that?
Well, Ontario, and I'll talk to Ontario, but again, every province would have some kind of Employment Standard Act, because employment and labor legislation is primarily governed provincially. So each province is going to treat everything a little bit differently. So in Ontario, go to the Ministry of Labor. The Employment Standards Act is quite in depth. Our office deals directly with pay inequity. So if a woman or man feels that they are not getting equal pay for work of equal value, so they're delivering, the same value to the company, but their work is being undervalued and paid less, potentially just because they're a woman or they're racialized or any kind of intersectionality there, they can come to us and we can investigate on their behalf.
Okay, that's good information to have. I want people to be able to find out more and obviously connect with you. And I'm thrilled you're going to be back next month as we dive in deeper to this. But for now, can you please share a website and social channels for anybody listening?
Yeah, payequity.on.ca. And you can also please visit levelthepayingfield.ca, a great resource, 6 podcasts, 6 episodes that really will educate women and get them started on this, this journey to economic equity.
All right. Kadie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.